From space slugs to the always bigger fish to whatever this thing is, there's absolutely no shortage of deadly creatures in the Star Wars galaxy. However, it would be the extragalactic Yuuzhan Vong who would create perhaps the deadliest species ever seen. Certainly, as we'll discuss today, the species that Jedi feared the most. So, a bit of history. As the Vong invaded and crushed formal New Republic resistance in the galaxy, the only faction that really won battles consistently against the invaders were the Jedi. At the Battle of Ithor, one of the Praetorian Vong's greatest warriors, Shadow Shai, was slain by Corran Horn. And the Praetorian Vong itself, which was an advanced scouting force, had also been decimated by Jedi-led resistance at the Battle of Helska 4. And that was only the beginning. Once the full fleet arrived, the Jedi scored several crucial victories, and in response, the Vong came up with a bunch of solutions. They infiltrated the New Republic and helped push forward anti-Jedi policy, they targeted Jedi specifically during battle, and they released an edict attempting to turn the galaxy against their greatest protectors. However, none of these really slowed the Jedi down, so the Vong turned to what they did best: creating weapons. Enter the Voxyn, a terrifying creature made of the combined genes of the extragalactic Pharazin and the Vornskr, both deadly creatures in their own right. Voxyn first appear in Star by Star, Book 10 of the New Jedi Order. They're described as, and I quote, "not higher than a human waist, but more than 4 meters long, with a flattish head and an undulating body covered in black scales. A line of coarse, sensory bristles ran down its spine, and a white barb protruded from its flickering whip of a tail." In that book, the Voxyn appear first on a ship which is secretly harboring Jedi. I'll get to their specific feats later, but there is a quote that I'd like to read for you guys. As Almina neared her sister, the creature swung its broad snout in her direction and sprayed a jet of brown saliva through the hatchway. Prepared by the attack on her sister, she opened herself to the Force, and with an almost unconscious wave of her fingertips, sent the stream washing back towards her attacker. The Voxyn, fast as a blaster bolt, closed its eyes and turned away before the mucus struck. Almina hardly cared. She grabbed her sister beneath the arms, smearing her own fingers in the burning mucus, and tried not to think about what the stuff was doing to Numa's face and eyes. Almina cried out and started to look down, then felt the mucus burning into the bones of her fingertips. The Voxyn's snout turned towards her and opened half a meter. A deafening shriek filled her ears, then the fist of a powerful compression wave slammed her in the stomach. She suddenly felt dizzy and sick, and in the next second, she was slumped against the escape pod, cradling her sister's dead body in her arms. The Voxyn are, to put it lightly, not pleasant, and this is one of the most unpleasant scenes in the New Jedi Order. Sisters Almina and Nuna are set upon by one of these beasts, with the latter killed. Almina also loses half of her hand just by accidentally touching some of the Voxyn's spit. But with the stage set, let's now talk about some history. From core worlds like Kuat, to escorts on Yuuzhan Vong ships, to frontline battlefields, Voxyns were specifically bred and trained as Jedi hunters. The training took place on Vong ships, which acclimated the beasts to the numerous environments they could expect to encounter Jedi. These creatures learned, and they were very intelligent. We see in Star by Star that a Voxyn is able to understand a turbolift and manipulate its controls. They were more than capable of listening to Yuuzhan Vong commands, likely due to the fact that they were half Vornskrs, which were basically large dogs. However, the training is only the tip of the iceberg. Voxyns were truly deadly because of their biological gifts. First of all, they had the unique ability to track Jedi through the Force, and upon detecting a Force signature, would hunt it relentlessly. Even techniques like going small in the Force and hiding your presence were relatively unsuccessful against the species. Their range was also incredible. As the Jedi surprise attacked the Vong at the Battle of Ebok, Voxyn on the bridge of various command ships began to screech wildly. What's more, they could also counteract a Jedi's own Force sensing abilities and were able to minimize their own presence, and of course would do so when hunting Force sensitives. However, even from a conventional sense, Voxyn were just incredibly gifted. As illustrated in the above quote, they possessed a spit which could easily melt through organics, killing them. Even something like an accidental splash to the legs or arms would be more than enough to incapacitate a victim. They also possessed fangs and claws which were augmented with poison, and a tail, which was known to cut victims apart. Alongside that was their screech, which operated somewhat like a force push, disorienting and hurting a victim while also destroying their eardrums. And even upon death, Voxyn released noxious blood, which would cause those in the vicinity to become violently ill. On a defensive side, they were incredibly resilient. Famed Jedi healer Silgal could find no weakness in the species. During the raid on Merkur, some were unfazed by lightsaber strikes, or blaster attacks, or even being too close to explosions from thermal detonators. While hunting Jedi in their first canon appearance, one also survives being crushed under a bulkhead. They could lose limbs, and were even known to rip off their own body parts if stuck during the hunt. But don't forget, they were also very fast, able to keep up with a Jedi in combat. The Queen whirled away from the silver ball, found her handler in the way, and slapped him aside. Jacen saw an arm fly in one direction and the rest of the Shaper tumble in another. Then the Voxyn was racing towards him, head rising to belch acid. She disgorged her acid at 3 paces. Jacen launched into an airborne roundoff and the brown spray shot below. Then the detonator crackled behind him and he found himself swinging at empty air. He landed lightly and sprang into a half twist that brought him around facing the same direction as before. And his heart rose into his throat. No Voxyn. This species, as I've illustrated, was so deadly that the Jedi Order feared that they would actually drive them to extinction. One of the only times you see Jedi scared during the Yuuzhan Vong War, even when fighting an already terrifying invader, is feeling the presence of a Voxyn somewhere nearby, hunting them down. However, the Voxyn also had a weakness. There was only one hybrid, and the individual creatures were not able to reproduce. All Voxyns were based off this one queen and would actually quickly deteriorate after time. The removal of Voxyns from the galaxy was so important that Han Solo and Luke Skywalker accepted a plan which would see all the Solo children, as well as many other young Jedi Knights, sent on a suicide mission. The Voxyn Queen and cloning samples would successfully be destroyed, though Anakin Solo would be killed in the process, with Jacen taken captive. The remaining Voxyn would slowly die out, either through direct combat or deterioration. And that's all the lore I have for you guys today. What do you think of the Voxyn? Can you think of a creature that's more terrifying? Let me know all of that below. Today's question comes from a lot of you who've been asking about the footage of the Eclipse Star Destroyer that I've been showing in some of my videos. It's actually a short film that EC Henry and I are working on, and we hope to get it out quite soon. In the next few weeks, I should be able to put together a teaser and a release date, but I wouldn't expect it later than February, but we'll see. Leave your questions below with the hashtag AskEck, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time guys, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.